just makes me laugh when people go, oh, you're always taking photos of the women. That's not because I want to, that's because the public wants it. If I was putting car photos up all the time, I'd get no traction.
I am delighted today to be joined here on the KTM Summer Grill by a man who I'm sure you're very, very familiar with. One of the leading photographers currently in the world of F1, and let's be honest, one of the leading F1 social media influencers out there. Currently nearly 2 million total followers across social media, including nearly 1 million alone on Instagram, and I'm thrilled to hear about his journey and everything else in the sport. Kym Illman, thanks for joining me today.
It's a pleasure to be outside the track.
It is, I'm sure, one of those weekends where you get any opportunity to take a sort of a moment to breathe with that. Just before we sort of get into the F1 stuff, just a brief overview of how you got involved in this world, Kym, because you weren't a photographer until sort of a little bit later in life, weren't you?
I decided after going to this race in 2016 and being a paying guest at Red Bull, where I was standing at the back of the garage listening to Daniel talk to his engineer. It was all very calm, really lovely scenario, and I thought, oh, I wouldn't mind photographing this. And so I contacted the media department of FIA, because they're the people that accredit you, and told them what I thought I could do for the sport. I didn't know how long I was going to be in it. I just thought it might be a nice break for half a year or a year. And to my surprise and delight, they accredited me for pre-season testing in Barcelona 2017, and then the first race was Australia, so they accredited me for that, and then I applied for pretty much all the races straight away and did the whole season.
Here you are.
I got a gig with Sutton's agency, three races in, which was absolutely fluky, right place, right time. Wasn't much of a photographer then, but yeah, things have, well, when you take 20,000 pictures a race weekend, you have to improve to some level. I'm not at the top level yet, but yeah, I aspire to be.
And you'd done some photography beforehand. You released a book on a safari, I believe, that you went to in Africa with your wife, and had worked a bit with National Geographic too in the past as well?
Well, to be fair, I didn't want to go to Africa, and I put it off for many years, and my wife said, right, I've booked a safari for us and the kids, you can handle the rest. And then I got a bit engrossed in it, and so we ended up in Kenya. Did 2 weeks there and loved it, and came back. Within 10 weeks we were back again for another 2 weeks, and we did 26 weeks in total over 2.5 years. Wow. And about halfway through that journey I decided I'd do a book, and then that book was picked up by National Geographic in Germany. So that was a pretty good introduction for F1 or FIA actually, to see what I've done. And without a doubt, when they see a printed publication that National Geographic's had a look at, it gets their attention. So I credit that being one of the major things that got me a gig.
And you're also a bit of a motorsport nut yourself, former racer. You raced in the Bathurst 12 Hour and did a couple of Targas in Western. You won a Targa event in Western Australia too.
I did, yeah, but it wasn't the full-on Targa. It was the limited to 130k an hour, and I had a very nice Porsche 911, which was quick. Didn't actually do the 12 Hour. I put my car in it, and I had 3 drivers, 1 paid driver and 2 that I said, like, you can drive, because they were good drivers. And that was a great, I think we came 6th,
wow.
5th or 6th, which was pretty good. It's one of the worst weekends of my life though, because I just discovered that there was a drama in my business where we'd had a staff member who caused us some concern. So I was more focused on that than I was about the 12 Hour. Of course, when we crossed the line, I was pretty happy, but yeah, Targa was just a fun thing to do. I did maybe, I'm thinking 6, 7 rallies, maybe 8, and loved them. But then I couldn't get a great co-driver, so I thought, no, I won't do any more.
Not for you, not going forward with that. And a couple of times I'm in my home state of Tasmania. Well, what is the Targa Tasmania kind of like doing that? Because it always seems like an amazing event to drive.
It's a phenomenal opportunity. Yeah. Stage after stage of beautiful countryside, closed roads, dangerous trees and concrete things close to the track. But yeah, I relish going down there. I think I did 3. I should be dead after one of them, quite frankly.
Left 4.5 after crest, left 4.5, left 4.5.
Sorry! Sorry, lovey. You all right?
Yep.
Okay.
Yep.
Came off the road at a crazy speed, and I was supposed to take a left, and I went straight over. And in the air for 35 metres. Thankfully, nothing in my way but field and a few cows, and I managed to steer clear of them.
Well, I was about to ask, were cows okay? That's good to know.
No one hurt.
No one hurt. 2017 then, in the world of F1 and sort of that focus on not necessarily just the drivers and the cars, but a lot of the behind the scenes stuff, which is what you're known for. And really kind of in this period of F1, which has really seen that fan engagement and growth. Sort of when you started in 2017 to now, how have you just seen that growth be able to not only help grow what you do, but just engage with the fans and everything that we're seeing in modern F1?
When I started in 2017, the paddock was a lot less populated. We could easily get photos of drivers. These days, like on a Saturday or a Sunday, it's very tough to get a clean shot of a driver. There's so many selfie hunters and autograph hunters that it's tricky. And that's because the sport's been opened up to the people. Well, more so the paddock's been opened up. But also Drive to Survive has obviously led to this explosion of interest. In, when was it, 2019? No, 2021 or 22, they allowed us to do a certain amount of video content from the paddock without being a broadcaster. So that's been great for my social media audience. And look, I've got a very good team behind me, and we post across everything: Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, Threads, YouTube obviously, but Instagram is the major number. It's 850,000 or something. And I've got to tell you, it's gone up 5% in the last 9 days.
9 days alone, yeah. Wow. Because I think when I last looked at your Instagram, yeah, it wasn't, I mean, you're about 850K, I think, at the day of recording this, which...
Yeah, 852, 854, it goes up 1,500 every half a day.
That's insane, wow.
Yeah. And look, it'll fall off at Christmas, but we've had this ripper explosion, so yeah, it's all good.
And in terms of just what you're actually producing, I mean, you do a lot of explainer videos, you do sort of a little things like, for example, when we're recording this just outside the Abu Dhabi Grand Prix, you did a post sort of questioning about the Australian media and sort of the bans on Oscar Piastri, so people can sort of be updated. So that's obviously very important for the fans to really get that insider that maybe some of the other media aren't reporting at a Grand Prix.
Almost everybody I watch on social media talking about F1 does it from their bedroom. And they're watching television, so everybody sees the same feed. They've all got the same mindset. Like, I'll be standing in the car park and I'll see someone walk in and there'll be an interaction. No one sees that. I only see that. I'll be standing around the back of the FIA garage when there's maybe 3 other photographers and no reporters. I get that to myself. And what I do, I don't do anything on social media that you've seen on television. I don't say Orlando Norris won tonight, unless it's just a starter. But anything you see on television, I avoid. I give you the stuff that nobody shows.
How do the drivers react to that? Because a lot of the time you're posting some, you know, maybe a bit more intimate photos of them coming in, and a lot of photos would say their partners and things like that. Do they appreciate sort of that, or some of them maybe don't kind of like some of that sort of stuff?
It just depends on the photo. Look, if I put a poor photo up of a driver, let's say I put a picture up of Gasly and he doesn't like it, he'll say, can you take that one down? So I take it down. Some of the girlfriends, I don't like that angle, can you take that down? But it doesn't happen very often, and almost always I acquiesce. But if you talk about the girlfriends, they are huge. On Instagram, not so much on YouTube, because my audience on Instagram is about 35% women. On YouTube, it is 10%.
Wow.
So the women love the photos of the women, and so do the guys. And it just makes me laugh when people go, oh, you're always taking photos of the women. That's not because I want to, that's because the public wants it. If I was putting car photos up all the time, I get no traction.
Yeah.
And I'm a smart enough person to realise you give the people what they want. You can knock yourself trying to get them interested in something, but if they're not interested, they're not interested.
Is there, you know, you mentioned working with Daniel back in the day, obviously no longer in F1, but I mean, of the years you've been in the sport, who's sort of some of the drivers you enjoy sort of interacting and working with the most, who all sort of give you the best kind of content over the years?
Look, I've shot for Gasly, Hulkenberg, Lando, which is great because you get better shots. But then, of course, look, some of the drivers say you can't put that picture up until I put it up. So I'll be sitting on a great pic until 9 p.m. at night. So I tend not to I don't want to shoot for drivers now. I'd rather present the whole picture. But Valtteri's amazing. Jack Doohan's great. Lando's great. But now it's trickier because I'll be amongst 10 photographers, so I don't get that interaction. Gasly, I mentioned him. Hulk can be hilarious. He can do some funny stuff. Look, they're all great guys. The likes of Lance Stroll and Lewis. Well, Lance is very laconic in the paddock. He just sort of floats along, doesn't have much interaction with us. he doesn't do very well on my page. Lewis does very well if he's wearing fashionable gear, but oftentimes, he's got his hand over his face. And when we don't get a chance to talk to him because he's so busy, and he is the big show in there's no doubt. So he's someone I might have had 2 conversations with him over the 8 years, but others, Valtteri I'll speak to at the moment. Every race we'll have a chat because he's not in demand. He's a reserve driver. That'll change next year.
And how do the team sort of find it as well? You're sometimes taking away some of their time with their drivers, but I'm sure they're quite cooperative with some of the stuff you're obviously doing as well.
Oh, look, I don't take up any time from drivers unless they're a reserve driver. But the teams are fine. Sometimes they'll send me stories. Hey, come and get this. We've got this celebrity coming in today. Sometimes they'll say, oh, that's not correct. Can you correct that? So look, it works both ways. Almost everything I do is positive. If I did 10 negative stories, one about a driver 10 times, I wouldn't last very long because they can easily, they'll just go to the FIA or FOM and say, look, he's just giving us the shits.
And do you think this is sort of the way of the future with a lot of this content? You're in a paddock with a lot of photographers who've been doing this for many, many years. I remember when I interviewed you in Austin last year, you introduced me to a couple who had been around the sport, longer than I've been alive. But this is obviously the direction we're going. So do you find that, you're setting a standard for what we could see more so in the future versus what we are used to seeing in Formula One?
No one else does what I do. And I understand why. It's incredibly hard work. And if they're employed by someone, the employer's not going to stand around and say, yeah, you go knock yourself out and put lots of content up for you. If they're a freelancer, yes, but then typically they'll have work every minute of the day and they won't have 2 or 3 people behind the scenes. So, look, I'm sure someone could come in and do it, but it's not easy. And if you came in with 1 million followers straight up, that might be great because you'd already have I imagine, a reasonable financial backing and some sponsors, but I don't worry about what they're doing. I just worry about what I'm doing. That's enough to think about.
You mentioned your team that sort of travels with you. I know your son's often on the road with him, so obviously, good to be able to spend time with that. But you hope he follows in your footsteps, or he is following in your footsteps, I guess I should say.
Yeah, he's very good. He's a better car photographer than me, perhaps. And he's had far less experience. He wouldn't relish this, and he wouldn't want to talk to the camera. But look, when I'm sick of it, he could step right in. Although he keeps saying anyone else who takes over a channel doesn't do as well because they're used to you, however good or bad you are, that's what they want. But I think it could happen. If he wanted to, he could take it.
Last question I have for you, Kym. A question you get all the time, but what is the favourite photo you've ever taken and sort of what makes it special to you?
Look, the one I go to, because it's just easy to remember, is Daniel coming onto the grid in Hockenheim. He's got spray coming off the tyres, there's a full grandstand behind him, Max is behind him. You can see that the cars are moving because the spray's there. And I'm eye height with his car. You can't tell that I'm on the grid. And I am. I'm waiting for the cars to come onto the grid to take up their position. It looks like I'm standing in the middle of the track during a race. And I'd be very lucky to get all of those factors coming together again to produce such a great shot.
I've seen that photo. It's a fantastic shot, and as all are your shots and the content and everything.
I'll correct you there. I take 20,000 photos a weekend, and most of them get thrown in the bin.
The ones I get to see.
Yeah, that's right. We're selective.
Kym, but I appreciate your time here on KTM Summer Grill, and we look forward to seeing all the great content that you're doing moving forward in the world of Formula One.
Right, and remember, stay passionate.
Thanks for tuning in to the KTM Summer Grill. With each episode, we are giving away one of these cool KTM goodie bags. Don't miss your chance to win. If you're watching via Speak Cafe, enter your details below. If you're watching on YouTube, the link is in the description.